there, we're elevating the heart space. And the lowest setting of the block is plenty high enough. If it feels too high, you can always come out of this as you can with any pose. But give yourself a minute to really breathe into this support that's below you. See if you can find some comfort and ease here. And once you have been able to surrender a little bit to that support, you can either keep your knees exactly where they are, or you can bring them out to butterfly, bringing the soles of the feet together, or any place else that feels good for you. And then bring the palms to face up. Continuing to connect with that breath. Sometimes when the heart is elevated, the back is arched, we can return to that sort of nervousness or not trusting enough that the support is going to hold us here. So just breathe into that support. And I've been listening to a couple of new experts in my life, and one is a magic and manifestation coach. In her daily meditations, she talks about expecting exactly what you want from the universe, expecting people to be wonderful and how you want them to be, expecting money to flow your way, expecting all the good things that you deserve in life. And then I've been listening to a cognitive behavioral therapist who says, don't expect anything. That's where disappointment comes from. So for today's practice, we're going to fall someplace in the middle. And so that is to just expect that the universe is going to deliver exactly what you need, even if it's not what you thought you wanted or what you imagined. And if you expect that everything that delivered to you is what you need, you can reframe your vision to see it as a learning opportunity, or just to see it in a more positive light than you might have otherwise. Take one more deep breath here. And if they aren't already, bring the knees to bend back toward the ceiling. And then draw the palms down to the mat, bringing the forearms down to the mat. You can even grab onto the sides of your mat, which I find really helpful, to then just bring you up just enough. Maybe you prop yourself up on your forearms to remove whatever prop is underneath your body, and then slowly, slowly roll yourself back down. Just noticing the spine in connection with the mat, resetting what might feel like a more normal place for the body to be. And then roll over onto the left side of your body. Find fetal position for just a moment. And then prop yourself up on your side. So you're going to come up on that left forearm. I'm not mirroring you here. I'm on my left forearm. And then bend the left knee. It can come in pretty close. And extend the right leg long. So the first thing we want to do is to press into that forearm to stay nice and lifted out of the left shoulder rather than sinking down into it. You can use the right hand as a little kickstand here. And then really flex through the right toes. And just begin to bring the right toes forward with that straight leg. Maybe knee comes on top of knee. And then swing it back just straight so that it's straight toward the bottom of your mat. And we'll take a few of those. So bring those toes forward just until you feel a stretch. So maybe it's knee on top of knee. I'm really feeling this in my IT band, in my hip a little bit. And then straighten it back. I'll take 3 more. Just gently moving, using your strength rather than momentum to find this movement. And then we'll meet with that right leg extended. And then bend the right knee so that you bring knee on top of knee. So your knees can be pulled in pretty close to you, or they can be down further, whatever feels good for your body this morning. We're going to take a couple of these clamshell openers here, so your toes will stay together as your knees come apart. So that right knee faces the ceiling or tracks toward the ceiling and slowly close. So remember to stay lifted out of that left shoulder and then slowly open up the legs and then slowly lower the legs back together. So we'll take 3 more rounds of this. And I'm on my last one, but you are moving at your own pace here. And then the next time your legs come together, keep them there. Nice. And then we'll take one more movement here. So extend that right leg long toward the bottom of the mat and really point through the toes this time. And just, we'll take a smaller sweep, but to either side of the mat. So you're going to sweep the toes forward, keep them in connection with the mat this time until they get to the upper corner of the mat. And then sweep it back through just until it finds the back top corner of your mat. So just moving on that short side, sweeping it forward, staying with those toes in connection, and then sweeping it back. Nice and slow, noticing the subtleties in the body here. And then the next time that leg comes back to center, you can keep it there. And then rebend the knee and slowly lower yourself back down into fetal position. And then eventually find yourself on your back. Extend the legs nice and long and extend both arms up and overhead, drawing the shoulder blades together underneath the body. And just notice here, bring your attention to both of your hips. Notice if one feels slightly different from the other, if there's any sensation. And then draw both knees into the chest. And you'll find yourself in fetal position toward the right side. So I'm gonna flip over here. Once again, I'm not mirroring you, but find that fetal position and then gently begin to bring yourself up so that you're on your right forearm this time. Knees are bent. And then press into the right forearm to get nice and lifted, and you can use that left hand as a kickstand. From here, you'll extend the left leg nice and long, so it's hovering over the mat. Flex through the toes, and then begin to bring it forward. Maybe you find knee over knee. And then bring it just back to the center so that the sole of the foot faces down toward the bottom of your mat. And sweep it forward. Find a place where you can really feel some sensation and sweep it down. We'll take 3 more rounds. Moving nice and slow. And the next time your leg comes long, just rebend that knee, bringing knee on top of knee. Once again, you can have the knees in close to the body here, or you can have them further away. And we'll take those clamshells. So keep the toes together as you gently bring the knees apart. Left knee tracks toward the ceiling. Maybe it faces the ceiling, maybe not. Just gently opening and staying lifted out of the right shoulder. We'll take 3 more rounds at your own pace, gently opening and closing. And once you finish your 3 rounds, bring the knees back together. And then extend the left leg nice and long, pointing through the toes this time. And then bring the toes down to the mat. Just begin to sweep the toes forward up to the corner of the short side of your mat, and then sweep it back. So this is not a huge range of motion, but we're just slowly opening up that outer hip. And just take 1 more sweep forward and back. And the next time the leg comes back to the center, you can rebend that leg, knee to knee, and slowly lower yourself down into fetal position. And then once again, onto your back. Extend both legs long once you find yourself on your back, and bring both arms up and overhead. This time you can clasp onto opposite elbows, just getting a little bit of a different stretch through the shoulders. See if you can relax and surrender a little bit here, trusting that whatever comes next is exactly what your body needs. And from here, draw the right knee into the chest. See if you can keep that opposite clasp of the elbows and wrap the forearms around the knee that comes into the chest. And then re-extend both the clasped elbows and the leg. This time, bring the left knee into the chest. See if you can clasp it with the forearms while still relaxing the shoulders down to the mat. And then release. Release the arms long overhead. And then sweep the arms out to a T or to a cactus pose. Wherever you are, draw those shoulder blades together. So we're just kind of getting the arms out of the way here for the next move. We're going to take another subtle move with the hips here. So with the right leg, bring it out as if you were going to do tree pose. So you're still on your back. I'm going to stand. So you're going to bring it like this so that your inner sole of your foot comes to your ankle. And then slowly begin to draw the toes with that back of the thigh, back of the calf, still in connection with the mat. You're just going to drag it up the mat and back down. So you're on your back. The left leg is long, and the right leg is just sweeping up and down. And see if you can bring that foot up high enough so that you are once again feeling this in the outer glute, outer hip, And then the next time the right leg comes to straight, leave it there. And just move to the other side. So you'll bend the left knee, bring the sole of the foot to the ankle, and drag that sole of the foot up the calf, the knee, the thigh, and then back down. And just take one more round. The next time your leg comes to straight, you can leave it there. And then draw both knees into the chest. You can clasp behind the thighs and give yourself a little rock and roll. The spine gets a little massage. And eventually the legs come to cross as you find yourself in tabletop pose. I'm going to switch back to this side. And then take a couple rounds of cat-cow here. Inhale to drop the belly, lift the gaze. And exhale to round the spine, drop the crown of the head. Take 2 more rounds of that. And then come back to a neutral spine here. And extend the right leg long behind you. And then just sweep it forward in between the hands. So the left leg stays down. We're in this low lunge here. If you have blocks, you can come up on your blocks for a second, but we're going to come up out of this totally in just a minute. So the back toes are untucked, feeling that opening in the left hip flexor. And then rise up, arms come up and overhead. So normally in this pose, we want the hips to go straight forward. So make sure that both of your hip points are pointing toward the top of your mat. Then sweep the arms out into a big T, and we're gonna switch the position of the hips here. So we'll come back slightly on that left knee as we point the hips toward the long side of our mat. Arms are out into a T. So you might need a blanket under that back knee if you have a sensitive knee there. Then come back into that low supported lunge. Arms come up overhead, hips point forward. And then arms come out into a T as the hips point toward the side of the mat. We'll take a few more rounds of this. Sweep the arms forward, low lunge. And then sweep it out to this side, hips point toward the long side of your mat. We'll take 2 more. Low lunge. And then sweep the arms out into a T. And last time, low lunge. Arms out into a T. And then we have to come back to that low lunge. Frame the front foot. Tuck the left toes. And then rise all the way up into a high lunge. Bend through the right leg. Strong through the left leg. And reframe the right foot. Lower the left knee down to the mat. Untuck the toes. And then sweep the right leg back, coming back into your tabletop pose here. You can rock the hips from side to side. Take a couple rounds of cat-cow. Inhale to drop the belly, lift the gaze. Exhale to round the spine, drop the crown of the head. 2 more. And then extend the left leg long behind you and step it through in between the hands. have to switch from side to side for this one. So you find yourself in that low supported lunge again. So the left knee is over the left ankle. The right toes are untucked. Maybe you're starting to feel this in the right hip flexor. And then bring your arms up and overhead. And if you want to just see if your hips are pointed forward, what I do in my kids' class, I have them bring little headlights to their hip points, and then make sure the headlights are both facing forward toward the top of the mat. So make sure you've got this position first, and then sweep the arms out into a T. As you switch the position of the hips, the headlights come toward that long side of the mat. Moving nice and slow, come back to that low lunge. And sweep it open, hips face the side of the mat. Moving nice and slow. Just noticing in the body where you're feeling this. Let's take 2 more of these. And then the next time you come to that low lunge, stay there. And then reframe the left foot as you tuck the right toes, release the right knee up off the mat. Get nice and strong. And then rise up into your high lunge. Bend through the left knee. And reframe the left foot. Lower the right knee down to the mat, untuck the toes, and step the left knee back to meet it, finding yourself in tabletop pose. From here, extend the right leg long behind you. And then bend it back so that the knee is hovering up off the mat, just next to the left knee. And sweep it out to the side, finding a fire hydrant pose. Then bring the right knee into the elbow and extend it behind you, straightening the right leg. Bend the knee into the right elbow and extend behind. 3 more, knee to elbow and extend. And last one, knee to elbow and extend. This time, bend the right knee and bring it back out to that fire hydrant pose. And extend that right leg out to the side and plant the right sole of the foot on the mat. So the left knee is bent. I'm not mirroring you. Palms are out in front of you. And right sole of the foot is firmly rooted into the ground. From here, you'll begin to bend the right knee, send the hips back toward the left heel. And then rise back up. And then bend and sit back. And rise up. Move really slowly through this. And you can really feel these subtle sensations of the legs and the hips opening up. And we'll take 2 more of these, bending through the right knee, sitting back toward the left heel, and straightening back up. And last one. And then rise back up. From here, walk the hands out in front of you, finding this one-legged puppy dog pose. So the right leg is still straight and strong. Maybe the forehead finds the ground or a block. Strong through the arms, and let the chest track toward the ground. And over the next breath, walk your hands back underneath the shoulders. Re-bend that right leg, coming back into tabletop pose. Give the hips a little rock from side to side. And then send the left leg long behind you. Really getting strong through that leg. And then bend the knee so that it hovers next to the right knee. Press down into the palms to stay lifted up out of the shoulders. And then bend the left knee toward the left elbow. And extend it long behind you. Left knee toward the left elbow. And extend it behind. 3 more. And last one, extend it behind you. And then bend the knee, bring it out to fire hydrant pose. Holding here for just a moment. And then extend the leg long, hover the toes for a minute, not a minute. And then plant the left foot long so that the sole of the foot is on the ground beside you. Arms are nice and straight. And then you'll begin to bend that left knee, sit back toward the right heel. And rise back up. And sit it back nice and slow, keeping that left sole of the foot in connection with the ground. And rise back up. Take 3 more. And come back up. And then walk the hands out in front of you, finding that puppy pose variation on this side. Keep the right toes facing, the left toes facing forward. And then just see if there's any place where you can relax a little bit here. I always find puppy pose a little stress-inducing. And so it takes a couple of breaths for me to really settle into it. For the next breath or two, you can begin to walk your hands back in, finding the hands underneath the shoulders. And then bend the left leg, coming back to tabletop pose. Then tuck the toes behind you once you find yourself in tabletop. Hover the knees up off the mat. Find that strength in the core. Press into the palms. And then you can begin to press the hips back, begin to straighten the legs, finding your downward facing dog. So repose your dog in any way that you need to, and then you can pedal it out here. Just take some movement to find yourself settling into this pose. Find some stillness after the movement. Press into the palms, get a nice, strong, flat back here. And then inhale the right leg back up behind you. Exhale to step it through in between the hands. Lower the left knee down, untuck the toes, rise up into your low lunge. Hips are facing forward. Sweep the arms out to a T, hips face the side. That same movement here. From this movement here, just see if you can bring the left hand down to the calf, right arm up overhead. And then bring the arms back out to a T. Come back to your low lunge. And this time, bring the right arm to the left calf, left arm up overhead. So find that twist. And then rise back up. Arms come back up overhead. Reframe the right foot as you tuck the left toes, knee comes up off the ground. Rise up into your high lunge here. And then this time, sweep the arms over to the right, arms in a T, and reverse your lunge here. Left arm up, right arm back. Arms back in a T, and then reframe that foot. Step it back into a high plank pose. Hold here for 3 rounds of breath. Get nice and strong. And then lower down the knees, chest and chin, slither forward into baby cobra. Exhale to release, tuck the toes, find yourself in downward facing dog. Inhale the left leg back up behind you, and exhale to step it through in between the hands. Lower the right knee down, untuck the toes. Rise up into your high lunge, your low lunge. And then bring the arms out to a T, hips face the side of the mat. Reverse it here, bringing the right arm down, left arm up. And then arms back into a T, sweep the arms forward, low lunge. And then flip to the other side. So the left arm comes down, right arm is up. Finding that twist through the core. Sweep it back forward. And then reframe the foot. Tuck the right toes this time. Knee comes up off the mat. And arms come up and overhead. Find your stability, find that base. And then flip the arms out into a T as you reverse that lunge over toward the left bent leg. And then bring it back forward. Reframe the left foot as you step the right foot forward, forward fold. So you can grab opposite elbows or just let the head and arms hang heavy, maybe sway from side to side. And then inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to fold forward. Step the feet back, high plank pose. Hold here for 3 rounds of breath. And then lower down through your vinyasa. I'm going to stick with knees, chest, chin. Inhale up to baby cobra. And exhaling back, downward facing dog. Always feel free to skip a vinyasa if it's not speaking to you. Then bend the knees deeply, send the belly back toward the thighs. Hop toward the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Gaze can follow. And exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale the arms out and up. Swan dive forward, plant the hands, step back into high plank pose. 3 breaths here. And then lower through your vinyasa or skip it. We'll meet back in downward facing dog. We'll do that one more time for this round. Bend the knees deeply, send the belly back toward the thighs, and then hop to the top of the mat. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold forward. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. Exhale, hands through heart center. Inhale the arms out and up. Exhale the swan dive forward, plant the hands, step back into plank pose, 3 rounds of breath. And then your choice of vinyasa, meeting back in downward facing dog. From downward facing dog, inhale the right leg back up behind you. As you come forward, bend the knee, bring the knee to the right elbow. And then back to downward facing dog. Knee to right elbow. Back to downward facing dog. 3 more. Knee to elbow. And back. 2 more. And then step that right leg all the way through. Lower the back left knee, untuck the toes, rise up, low lunge. And then bring the arms out to a T, twist over toward the right leg. From here, you can bend that left knee. If you can, grab the left foot. Or you can leave that left leg down and reverse it like we did in the last round. Wherever you are, 2 more rounds of breath. If you have the foot, release it. And then sweep the arms back to a T, back forward. Frame that front foot and step it back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Notice the difference between each side of the body. And then inhale the left leg back behind you. As you bring it forward, bend it to the left elbow. And sweep it back, 3-legged dog. Bend it forward. Sweep it back. 3 more. Bring it back to 3-legged dog. And then step it through in between the hands. Lower the right knee down, untuck the toes, and rise up, low lunge. Sweep the arms out to a T, twist over toward the left knee. And then you can either reverse it here, or you can bend your right knee, grab for that foot. Wherever you are, just noticing. Taking a few more rounds of breath here. And if you have that foot, let it go. And then sweep the arms back to a T, back into your low lunge, and reframe the foot. Step it back, downward facing dog. Then bring the toes together, knees wide. Find your child's pose here. Let your forehead be in connection with something, a blanket, a block, the mat. Reconnect with your breath. And at this point, with how open our hips are, this should feel like a really restorative child's pose. Sometimes when we do child's pose at the beginning of practice, it can feel a little more effortful, but let this represent your work. Let it represent ease. Let it represent exactly what you expect from the universe. And on the next couple of breaths, you can bring your hands, your palms back in, coming back through tabletop, and then tucking the toes, finding yourself in downward facing dog. And however you want to get there, whether it's a pounce or a walk or a float, get yourself to the top of your mat in a forward fold. Inhale to halfway lift. Exhale to forward fold. Bend the knees really deeply, rise up into chair pose. So in this chair pose, let's get our alignment on point first. So tuck the tailbone a little bit under, so that the tailbone is pointing down toward the mat, rather than having this huge sway back with your tush stuck all the way out. So feel that. Then put some effort into the glutes here, rather than letting the thighs take all the effort. Okay, we're gonna ground down into that left foot as the right foot taps back and taps forward. Tap the right foot back and forward. 3 more, tap it back and forward. 2, and 1. Bring it forward, sit down into the chair. And we'll do the same thing on the left side. Root down into the right foot. The left foot taps back and forward and back and forward. 3 more. And then bring it forward, sit down into your chair. And straighten the legs, come all the way up. Release the hands. You can bring them to heart center. Close the eyes. Take a deep breath here. And then flutter the eyes open. Sweep the arms up and overhead. And bend the knees to sit back into chair pose. If your arms are getting tired, you can bring them to your hips or to heart center. I think I'm having trouble breathing because there's crazy allergies going on. Okay, so we're gonna do that, but we're gonna add on. So make sure your tailbone is tucked under, arms are wherever you want them to be. Tap the right foot back as you twist to the left. It doesn't have to be a full lunge, just tap it, bring it back forward. Tap the right foot back and twist, bring it forward. 3 more. When you finish your 3, sit back into the chair and we'll move to the other side. Tap the left foot, twist and forward and tap and twist and forward. 3 more. Once you are done, sit back into that chair and then find a forward fold. Plant the hands, step back into plank pose. And lower down knees, chest and chin, float forward, baby cobra. Exhale, release, tuck the toes, downward facing dog. Inhale the right leg back behind you. Exhale to step it to the outside of the right hand. Twist over toward the right thigh, so the right palm can come to the right thigh. And then twist it back to the center. From here, step the left foot forward to the outside of the left hand, coming into Ardha Malasana first. And then if you'd like to, you can sit all the way down into Malasana, making sure that you're not dumping into the hips. So you might want to just press into the feet to rise up just a little bit more using the strength of your legs. And then plant the hands back down and keep the left foot where it is. Just step the right foot back so we can find that twist on the other side. So bring the left palm to the left thigh and twist over. And then bring it back to center. Once again, bring that right foot forward so you can find Ardha Malasana or full Malasana, wherever you are. Press into the feet. Feel the hips working here. Sometimes it can feel like you're just kind of hanging out here, but if you press into the feet, you're using that strength that we've worked on all class. Two more rounds of breath here. And then plant the palms. All 10 toes face the top of your mat as you straighten your legs. You can walk your feet in to about hips width distance apart, finding your forward fold. And then inhale to halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. Sweep the arms out, up and overhead. And exhale, hands through heart center. Okay, feet are at hips width distance apart. So ground down through your left leg. I am mirroring you this time. And then kickstand your right leg. So start off with the kickstand first. And make sure that that left hip is hugged in. And then you can begin to bring the foot toward the calf, or you can bring it all the way up to the inner thigh, or you can leave it in that kickstand. So find your stability first. And then if you want to take a variation, bringing your arms overhead, waving your branches, or finding some stillness. If you want a real challenge, close your eyes, even if just for a long blink. And then keep the arms where they are. Slowly begin to unhook the foot, and then just cross the right ankle over the left knee. And begin to bend through that left leg so you're sitting in a gentleman style chair. So really slowly bend through that standing leg. It's okay if you wobble. Keep the heart shining forward, and then remember to tuck the tailbone when you get to your deepest expression. Woo. Bring the hands through heart center. Sit just a little bit deeper. And then rise all the way up and lower that foot down to the ground. Release the arms down by the side. Let's take a breath here. And then we'll move to the other side. So plant through that right foot as you kickstand through the left toes. So kickstand first, hug that right hip in. And then you can draw the leg up. Once you have found your stability, you can take any variation. Maybe eventually finding some stillness here, maybe closing the eyes. And then leave the arms where they are as you begin to cross that foot over the right thigh, and then sitting slowly as deep as you can into that chair. Once you find your deepest expression, tuck that tailbone so it points down toward the ground, and shine your heart forward. And then you can bring your hands to heart center. One more breath here. And straighten the leg, rise up, uncross. Give the legs a little shake. And from here, face the long side of your mat. I'm already facing the long side of my mat. And then bring your legs out really wide. So if you were to bring your arms out, your wrists might line up with your ankles. And then bring your hands to your hips. As you gently hinge at the hips to fold forward, I still have some creaks and cracks left. So plant your fingertips on the ground or on blocks. And really press in so that you get a nice, straight, strong spine. From here, you can begin to roll forward on the toes, and then roll back on the heels, maybe even lifting the toes up off the mat. So we're getting this stretch in the back of the legs from all that work that we did. Remembering that the universe gives you just what you need. You can expect that. So you can expect that once we work our legs really hard, that then we can cool them down and stretch them out a little bit more. If you find a really juicy spot as you rock from toe to heel, feel free to stay there. My heels, when I'm on my heels, feels really good for my legs, but you find what feels good for yours. One more breath, And then bring it back to center, bending through both knees, and then straightening both legs. So you're kind of sitting back a little bit. Just bend through the knees. The last little bit of hip stretch here. Straighten through, and let's do that one more time. Bend and straighten. And then plant the palms and just find yourself seated on your mat in any way that you want to get there. Bring the soles of the feet together. And maybe they're in close to you. Our hips should be really open at this point. They can still be further out from you. Whatever feels good. Sit up nice and tall. And then slowly walk yourself into a forward fold over this butterfly legs. So maybe the fingertips come to the ground, maybe forearms, maybe your forehead touches the ground. Let this be gentle and easy. We'll take 2 more breaths here. See if you can settle in just a little bit more. And then slowly rise back up. You can bring your hands to your outer thighs to bring the knees to face up toward the ceiling. And then swing yourself back around onto your back. Sweep the arms out to a T or in a cactus, hugging the shoulder blades slightly together. And then bring the knees and legs up to 90 degrees. Really hug the legs together. So it's as if you have one leg here. And then drop those knees over toward the right as the gaze goes over toward the left. So finding this final twist here. If you're looking for even more, you can swing that right leg up and over the left for a little bit more of a back release. And then bring the legs back to the center and just drop them over toward the left as the gaze comes over toward the right. And if you want to swing that bottom left leg up and over, you can do that. Allow the shoulders to relax down toward the mat. And then bring the legs and the gaze back to center. Draw the knees toward the armpits, soles of the feet toward the ceiling. Find happy baby. You can grab for the outer edges of the feet or the back of the thighs. Really flexing through the feet wherever you are and drawing the thighs toward the outer edges of the ribs. And take a little sway from side to side. Really find some joy at the end of this practice. And then if there's any final pose or shape that you would like to take, feel free to take that now. And whenever you're ready, you can release out of whatever pose you're in and release the feet down toward the bottom of the mat, at least the mat's width distance apart. Bring the arms out to the sides, hug the shoulder blades under the body. Allow the head to be fully supported by the ground beneath you. And the eyes to rock back heavy in the sockets. The jaw to unhinge. The heart to be open and free. the belly to flop over your elastic waistband, and the feet to flop out to the sides. The universe is giving you these final few minutes of practice to just rest. So you must need rest. On your next breath, bring it all the way down to the belly and fully fill your belly up. And as you exhale, you can gently let the breath back out through your mouth. And start to bring some wiggles into the fingertips and toes. Gently rock your head from side to side and take any other movements, big or small, that your body is calling for. And whenever you're ready, roll up to a fetal position and then rise up into a seated position, taking your time, knowing that there's no rush to get anywhere. And once you rise up to seated, bring your hands to heart center. Close the eyes if they aren't already. And go through your day knowing and expecting that the universe is delivering exactly what you need. Even if it doesn't feel positive or anything like you imagined in that moment, know that it will lead to sensational things. And with that positivity, you can go through the world maybe a little more optimistic, a little happier, knowing that you're on your path and your journey. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.